There we go. Welcome to News Stripped Down, where I dig through the news and weed out the nonsense so you guys don't have to. Today is June 12th. It's Friday, you guys. Cool. I don't have to do any more writing today, or the rest well, for the weekend. So it's June 12th, 2026. It's 15 degrees Celsius. That is 59 degrees Fahrenheit to you guys down in the States. One of the only temperatures that actually comes out even when it comes to Fahrenheit. 15 is 59, no decimal point. Let's start off with some birthdays today. Today in 1827, writer Jonah Spree, Jonah Spree, famous writer, passed at the age of 74 in 1901. Famously known for writing the book Heidi, which is kind of funny. And then today in 1897, Prime Minister after Winston Churchill, Anthony Eden, he passed in 1977 at the age of 79. Today in 1924, U.S. President George W. Bush, he was the 41st president. He passed in 2018 at the age of 94. And today in 1921 or 29 to 1945, Anne Frank, famous Jewish girl. There's a book written about her. I think there's something else about Anne Frank today. I'll have to see. I think there's another thing about Anne Frank. I think it's her, not just her birthday, but I think this is the day. Yeah, she was given. Yeah, it's pretty significant. This is the day she started writing in her diary that the book is written about. Yeah, we'll talk about that after. That's another thing. That's things that happened today in history. But also, it's Anne Frank's birthday. She passed at the age of 15. If you guys don't know how she passed, you can read the book. And today in 1862, Jordan Peterson, he was a Canadian psychologist and author. Yeah, he kind of got into some things during 2016, getting into politics and kind of protesting some things. Yeah, happy Friday is right. And hey, DJ, hey, 2-4. Happy Friday is right. No more writing for the rest of the weekend. And then today in 1952, Pete Farndon, he passed in 1983 at the age of 30. He was a member of the Pretenders. You probably don't remember. Well, 2-4, you probably remember the band The Pretenders. Not really into that type of music. I'll listen to it if it's on the radio, but that's about it. And then today in 1985, David Franco is 41 years old today. David Franco, related to the crazy Franco who just put out those weird TikTok and YouTube videos. And then David Franco, you probably remember him on the movie 21 Jump Street with Jonah Hill, I believe. So yeah, that's it for birthdays today. Now let's get into the news. So yeah, today is June 12th, 2026. It's 15 degrees Celsius. That's 59 degrees Fahrenheit to you guys down in the States. Kind of chilly today. Big storms coming in and out of the province right now. So actually everything's coming in from northern Saskatchewan, cutting across us right now. Still a lot of people dealing with overland flooding. No real heavy rains, but the other day that 10 inches of rain in 8 hours is pretty crazy. Wow. So yeah, news stripped down 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer than that's just BS anyways. And I'm here Monday to Friday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Sorry, I need a drink. So some Canadian news here. So Prime Minister Mark Carney announced a $3 billion into national food strategy. This is going to be spread over 10 years, and then with 1 billion of that is going to go towards infrastructure such as food terminals and hubs. Okay, so what he wants to do is have easier access for grocers to be able to, instead of having like big long shipping routes, let's have designated zones where we can pick up all this produce from everywhere from at one spot. And this, what they say, it was what Carney is saying, that this is going to help independent grocery stores. No, it's not. That's just a bunch of BS. This is, if anything, this is going to hurt independent grocery stores. Like, they're already getting hurt due to the fact that they removed that one sales tax because they're exempt from the nine, because of the 900 square foot rule. Well, it's not 900 square foot rule. I think it's a little more than that. But they still have to pay tax, make people pay taxes on certain groceries. It's the bigger grocery stores that are getting away with this. So, but even so, so they're going to put a bunch of money into this infrastructure here, but really $3 billion over 10 years when it comes to putting in new food sources and like new greenhouses and start being able to produce more fruit and vegetables here in Canada. Like 90% of our fruit and vegetables comes from other countries, the United States, Mexico, South America, because we live in a cold climate. We can't be growing fruits and vegetables and stuff like that up here. But they also say, like, what is it? 90% of our fresh fruits and vegetables comes from the United States or other countries. And they say about 70% of that is just vegetables. I'm going to call BS on that. I'm going to think it's more 70% of the fruit comes from other countries, especially where I am in Manitoba. A lot of vegetables that we get are pretty much locally grown. We have tomatoes in Dauphin. We have the mushroom facility in Winnipeg. We have a place that makes carrots. Where we have lots of potato fields across Manitoba, and wicked access to grains. Like, and to say that our vegetables are 70% of that 90% that is getting imported from the United States, I'm gonna say BS on that. I don't know about the rest of Canada, but when it comes to Manitoba, a lot of our vegetables come from local areas. Like I said, Dauphin, Manitoba, they do a lot of tomatoes. There's a huge greenhouse facility. But I would like to see more greenhouses being built across Canada, but then we run into kind of a stone wall or or a point where we're going to get funneled into where we're going to have trouble getting access to certain seeds, like celery seeds, like onion seeds, tomato seeds. That's another issue. And these greenhouses are already starting to see this issue. So even like throwing $3 billion towards making the food supply better, I don't think is enough. And then even still, if we're gonna put money into putting up greenhouses and facilities to be making more fruits and vegetables here in Canada, we better make sure that we have a proper seed supply to be growing these fresh fruits and vegetables. Because yeah, it's all fine and dandy building all this stuff, but can you get the supply to grow the seed? We're already playing this catch up game here in Canada, and it's because we're trying to run before we can walk. And yeah, it's going to come down to this when it comes to see where the federal government starts putting their money into like food resources. It's bad enough right now. Like, food costs have gone up 35% in Canada since 2019. Well, a direct result of that was like COVID, and then it never recovered. Yeah, food costs went up during COVID, but did we ever see it come back down? No, because it never comes back down. You see the cost of something go up, it's like, okay, then we'll drop it back down like 5 cents. And then that's where it stays. It doesn't go anywhere. Like, and for people to expect food costs to come down, I don't think that's going to happen. If we're going to get through any of this, we need to see like minimum wages start going up. And for the average person right now to just do basic daily surviving, if you have a car, you got to pay car insurance, you have homeowners insurance, you got to like, you have land taxes, all this other stuff, hydro, you got to pay for electricity, you got to pay for water, you got to pay for all these things. If for and then so roughly for a family of four, even a family of three, the two parents of that household need to make an average of $21 an hour just to be able to scrape by and not have any worries, have all your bills paid for, and then still have a little bit of money to go out to a movie, but who goes to a movie nowadays? It's like $60 a person to go to a movie theater, and they wonder why the theaters are dying. Was it the CEO of Sony just announced that he was complaining that these movie theaters are charging too much for people to go see their movies. And yeah, he's right. Because like back in the day, that's what we used to do as kids. Go to a movie, get this how the parents got you out of the house. Oh yeah, 2-4, you missed that. Yeah, I talked about that. They were supposed to do that the opening ceremony. I told you, I said yesterday. First thing yesterday morning, they started putting out notices saying for people to not come to the ceremony for the Gordie Howe Bridge because the ribbon cutting ceremony had been canceled. So yeah, yeah, that's all because of what is it, the Howe family or the Maroon family in Detroit that has the other bridge, the Ambassador Bridge. This is all because of them, and they got Trump the vote in Michigan. They got him a lot of votes. So Trump is now repaying them by keeping this bridge closed. Because literally, he's not handing them money, but by keeping this bridge closed, the money is flowing to that privately funded bridge that's making money right now. So every day that they keep that closed, they're going to make, how many millions of dollars. So that's all that's about right now. It's just a pissing match between Trump and, well, Trump repaying it. It has nothing to do with a pissing match. It's Trump trying to keep that bridge closed as much as possible so he can repay his debt to the Moron family. Uh, so yeah, and then Mark Carney, he's in Ireland today. Part of his trip that will include France as the G summit is coming up this weekend and this week. And then while he's up there, he's gonna do a tour of some government buildings and then offer an official dinner. And then off to, or no, the official dinner is going to be held at Dublin Castle. I wonder how this is going to work out with him there right now, because I know Ireland and the UK right now are, there's quite a bit of tension happening. If you guys haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of riots and stuff happening. Ireland is very not happy with the United Kingdom, and well, actually hasn't been happy with the United Kingdom for quite some time. But let's see what Mark Carney can do because his ancestors are there. He's gonna go check out where his grandparents were like raised, the town that they were raised in, and that's in what the western part of the country there. So I don't know. Maybe the UK sending him over there to kind of quash a few things and see what happens. Because yes, Carney does have quite the rapport when it comes to the UK government due to the fact that he ran the Bank of England or worked for the Bank of England for how many years. So yeah, so I think Carney might just be over there to see if he can kind of quash some of these tensions that the two countries are having in between each other. But we'll see what happens. Carney's going to be there until I don't know if he's leaving Saturday or if he's leaving Sunday. But I guess we'll see what happens next week and see if there's any like peace talks between the UK or anything happening between Ireland and the UK. And then over to, well, this is all of Canada right here. This is absolutely hilarious, you guys. So, Manitoba Premier Wob Canoe is now the highest of all the Canadian premiers uh, in approval ratings. You probably thought I was going to say he's just the highest, right? He's a stoned motherfucker. He's just a stone cold speaker, is what he is. So, yeah, Wob Canoe is the highest ranked MP of all of Canada right now with a 60% or 62% approval rating. He's kind of just up a couple points here. Nothing like spectacular, but with a 62% rating. Next closest rating for that is was a Saskatchewan Premier, Wakeham. Oh no, Newfoundland's Premier Wakeham at a 50% approval rating. And then in third place you have Scott Moe out of Saskatchewan, still with a 50% rating, but he's down a point. So you have Wakeham in Newfoundland who's doing better. Those are the only two that are up points right now. It seems like almost every premier across Canada is down. And then you have Susan Holt from New Brunswick. She's down to 41% approval rating. And over to Quebec City, you have Frachette down. Actually, no, her approval rating is kind of staying steady at 39%. And then you have Alberta's famous Danielle Smith. She's completely down. She's down 39% right now. But like, what did you expect? But you guys notice I haven't said one name yet. There's one name that I haven't said yet. Just wait. Let's see where they are on the list here. Hey, 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 hey. And then over to Nova Scotia, we got Houston there. He's down to 34%. And then BC's Abby there. He's down to 31%. And you want to know who's in last place right now at her approval rating? Okay, Abby's already down, and he's down to 31%. Anyone? Bueller? Bueller, you want to tell him? You want to tell him, Bueller? It's Doug Ford. He's down to 21% approval rating right now. That's 10% less than Abby. Like, I know people aren't a big fan of Abby, but Doug Ford, this blew my mind. I thought he was going to be like par with Abby, or at least par with Smith. But, I think this whole aircraft purchase that he did there really hurt his approval rating. But to be fair, his approval rating was done before he purchased the jet. So I don't know what to say. His approval rating is probably even worse than that. But 21%. So yeah, shout out to Wob. And a lot of what Wob is doing, like, yeah, his approval rating is mostly like because of sound bites and stuff. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He says he's gonna start opening up hospitals, which he has been opening up hospitals. He's been finding more doctors, finding more nurses, qualified doctors, qualified nurses. Sorry. And then yeah, he removed the food tax across here, but that's really just on junk food, and that only helped big grocers get more customers into the stores, and it really hurt the little grocery stores, that are, family run or privately run. They still have to charge customers those taxes. So that's one thing I'm not real proud of Wob doing, and but this is where a lot of people are giving him his approval rating. And then there's him digging up those murder victims in the Winnipeg dump too. That also gave him some major brownie points. And then, of course, calling out Danielle Smith in that big meeting they had the other day. What was that in Alberta? He just flat out called it, like, don't BS me, because I'm going to call you out on it. And this is another reason why he's getting a good approval rating. He's willing to call out the other premiers in front of people and be like, hey, we just talked about this. And then you're going to come on here and just say like something completely ass backwards or try and confuse the people. No, let me rephrase that for you, Danielle Smith. like like it's so funny, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of him. uh and then in Manitoba here, with Wab Canoe getting Yasku kicked out of Manitoba Parliament there, like I'm not a big fan of that either, too, man. And you know what to say? Like, yeah, he asked if you were drunk. It's like, yeah, just because you're native, he said, yeah, that's like racist. That's racist. You think Avery Indians are drunk? Well, you know what? I've been called a drunk multiple times too, man. So don't take offense to it. To get Yasku kicked out because he called you a drunk, or are you drunk, in a private meeting? Maybe he did smell alcohol on you, or maybe it was the cologne you're wearing. But to take offense of that and to put a label on it like, oh, because I'm native, you think I'm a drunk? You know, that's not what he was saying. He's probably called some of his own friends too. What are you, fucking drunk? He's probably called his wife that too. If you know the Yasku people, yeah, yeah, they probably called their wives or family members fucking drunks too a few times. So like, that's the only thing I don't like about Wab Kadu, is just some of the things he does, and like that tax thing, that was just straight up given. Like that gave him an extra 10 points right there. Oh, and then some more Canadian news. Don't worry, I got more than just Canadian news, you guys. So the Trans Mountain Pipeline has reached capacity right now at around 890,000 barrels per day, and I've probably said this already. So, and China's taking around 200,000 of this oil a day from us right now, and they're taking it as raw product, which is kind of good for us. Let them refine it, let them let them do the climate change nonsense over there. It'll keep our emissions down. But there's really talks right now of really trying to push for this next pipeline, because that could produce another 1 million barrels per day out for export. And with China like expected to start taking more raw oil from us, this could be a good thing. But we need to start working on this pipeline and start getting more approval for this. But first of all, we need to start sitting down with the native communities too and start figuring out, like, hey, this is the people we should be talking to first. Like, everyone's making all these plans, but the plans are no good unless you go talk with the native people. Go talk to Alberta and the separatists about that. This is never going to happen. And what we should be doing is right from day one start involving them. And it shouldn't be about dollar amounts. It should be about investment. Allow these companies to invest in some of these reserves. Help invest in new homes and stuff like that. Don't directly give money to the reserves, but like allow them major grants for investments. Or like some type of holding fund for the young ones that are there for education. So they can go to, well, I guess schooling and stuff is mostly free for them anyways. Yeah, you're totally right, Greg. You're totally right. They did have the opportunity to buy it too. Duh, duh, duh. So yeah, so with the Trans Mountain Pipeline right now they're talking about adding some additives here to get the flow going up to around 1.2 million barrels per day. But this is all gonna I don't know if China's going to take this. Like, I know there have some countries right now. If we did start adding this additive to the get the pipeline flowing more quickly, it's just a thinning agent that they're going to add to the raw oil product. But a lot of countries right now have already like kind of brought this up. You're like, well, if you do put that additive in there, we kind of don't really want to deal with that. It's just one more step for us that we have to deal with. So like, would we have to sell it at a cheaper rate? It's going to have to be some 6 7 6 7 deal here. So we'll see what happens. This is just talks right now, but really they're more focused on getting this pipeline, this expansion project done to BC, and it's BC right now that seems to be holding everything up. And BC and Mark Abbey, or Abbey there. Yeah, what do you expect? The people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, and Abbey is exactly one of these people. He's more worried about what other provinces are doing when he should be worried about what his own frickin' province is doing. And this is the same thing with Danielle Smith. What was this whole point of her going to Quebec? To like build a relationship with Quebec. Why? Because they wanted to separate at one point in time. You wanted to hear their perspective. You think Quebec wants to get involved in your politics? No. If anything, you just made yourself look worse. And especially to Quebec by going there and trying to make some peace deal and then see if we could move oil through the other part of country to Quebec so they could ship it out. No, that's never going to happen, Danielle Smith. Like, and yes, see, don't worry about what other provinces are doing. Focus on what each other province is doing. And kind of like what Wob Canoe is doing right now. He's focusing on Manitoba and what we should be doing for this country. Oh, so yeah, some international news. This is really good. I'm glad to hear this. The EU and Mexico signed a memorandum agreement that will make 90% of its trades between them completely tariff free. This is absolutely remarkable. If you guys don't realize with what's happening with this Kuzma deal, Mexico is a big part of this Kuzma deal. It's Mexico, United States, Canada. Okay, so this is a huge, huge thing. Because of this Kuzma thing kind of being thrown up in the air and probably getting tossed out, Mexico is kind of put in a rock and a hard place right now. And they're already kind of thinking like without the US, they wouldn't be able to, function properly. But with this deal with the EU right now, this really gets them out of a massive hurdle. They're starting to realize and make these deals where, yeah, we can make something of our country. Look at all the resources we've just been squandering away to the United States. And at cheap prices. Now we can start going out to some foreign markets and getting the proper dollar for what we are trying to produce. And this is a great step for Mexico. And you know what? I can't wait to see how the EU is going to take advantage of this. Like, this is going to be great for both of them. Like, the EU right now is doing some major project progress right now, especially even with the US. I don't know how the US is dealing with the EU right now. The EU is seeing better progress with the US when it comes to finalizing the US EU trade agreement, actively working to create more predictable trade environments. So how the hell is the EU just sitting down with the US right now, like, hey, yeah, we're working out trade deals like left, right, and center. We're almost done. And meanwhile, it was sitting here in Canada, be like, yeah, they won't even let us sit at the table. They won't even sit down with us until we give up something, and we're not going to give up anything. And we're definitely not giving up our dairy to the United States dairy. And we're, well, obviously that bridge is going to have to open sooner or later, and that's just what it is. Oh shit! I gotta check that out. So yeah, the EU is doing some massive stuff right now. What else are they doing? They just did some enhanced economic partnership agreements with several sub-Saharan African partners. And then the EU Mercosur trade deal that they just did, that's going to expand their trading zones. So the EU just expanded their trading zones to Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Like that's good for the EU. Good for the EU, but also good for these other countries right now. But you know, kind of good to see people starting to step away from the United States and realizing, we don't really need them that bad. And it's so funny. You always hear Trump saying, "Yeah, I don't think Canada realizes how bad they need us. How bad they need us." Okay, we could just cut the power like that. We could cut the water too. Like a lot of fresh water that goes to the United States comes from Canada too. Like, yeah, I don't think they realize how much control we do have. Like, yeah, you guys have a bigger army, but your army's almost only as good. It's like if we cut them right now before they have these mobile nuclear reactors running, I'm pretty sure we could just shut them down. So yeah, that EU Mercosur trade deal is pretty big. So yeah, the EU's doing some major stuff right now, and it's good to see. And then yeah, some final news here. Apparently, there's a serial killer running around in Puerto Vallarta. They found three women dead, kind of in a triangle around the main tourist area. But these three women happen to look alike, and there's really no names to go with them. They could be related. They all had tattoos. Wouldn't say if they were similar tattoos, but to say that there's a serial killer going around after these women, I looked at pictures of these women. They were probably working for the Rooster. And the Rooster, yeah, he's the big boss in town there. And they were probably dipping into some packages. So, yeah, they probably got rid of. And the reason that the bodies were left the way they were, like, if it was a serial killer, they wouldn't just ditch the body randomly, right? Trust me, they left those three women there to prove a point. I don't think it's a serial killer. Even the police say, it's not a serial killer, blah, blah, blah. But I'm pretty sure that these girls were getting into some packages. Trust me, I've had my dealings with the people down in Puerto Vallarta. One guy I know, yeah, they did off him because he was dipping into packages. Uh, Freaking Jose, yeah, they put some holes in him, yeah. So yeah, they were probably just dipping into packages. And like I said, the authorities in Puerto Vallarta saying, the tourists and stuff shouldn't have to worry. So I think this is just inside job getting taken, like dirty work, taking care of dirty business. So I think that's all it was. The EU is provoking. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get into that a little bit, Tolga too. Yeah, I'm watching that too. The U.S. or the EU is, no, they're kind of grasping at straws right now when it comes to natural gas. But you know, the only reason they really need natural gas right now is like to subsidize their green energy program. Like if they could have proper battery storage throughout the EU, like they yeah, have all those wind farms and solar power and shit is all fine and dandy, but if you don't have wind or solar that day, then where does that energy, like you need somewhere to store it. If you can't store it, then that energy's no good. You still have to get subsidized by either natural gas, coal, or nuclear. So, that's the whole thing I was talking about, building all these greenhouses in Canada. Yeah, if we start building greenhouses, we better make sure that we have a supply of seeds, because that is an issue that's being brought up right now. So if we build all these greenhouses, yeah, it's all fine and dandy if you can grow shit in them. Like that's the issue. Like everyone's thinking, hey, we need to start building more infrastructure. We should start buying more electric cars. Okay, then how the fuck are we supposed to plug them all in? Like that's another thing. Like we can't all plug our cars in at the same time. It doesn't work. Like, so that's the whole thing. But that's it for the news today. Oh yeah, you know what? I gotta finish this off because I was talking about what was her name? Anne Frank. Anne Frank, yeah. So yeah, today was also Anne Frank's birthday in history. June 12th, Anne Frank's birthday. Let's talk about that. So yeah, this is where Anne Frank received her first diary as a birthday gift in Amsterdam. So yeah, this is where she started writing in her diary that became the Book of Anne Frank. And then yeah, and it's kind of funny. And then there's Nelson Mandela right under this. This is where Nelson Mandela in 1964 started his life sentence in prison for a sabotage in South Africa. Okay, now think about this. Anne Frank. Is it the diary of Anne Frank? Or is it not? Or is it just Anne Frank? Because that's supposed to be a Mandela effect too. Some people say it's this, some people say it's that. So it's so funny that Mandela effect is right after that. That's so funny. So yeah, Anne Frank, yeah, she got that book in 1942, that diary. But that's so funny. Mandela is right below that, and then there's a controversy about the book of Anne Frank. Does it say this or does it say that? I don't want to get into it because some people say the movie, where Sinbad was a genie, was never a movie. Yeah, it was a movie. And then today in 1931, Al Capone is indicted on 5,000 counts of prohibition violations and perjury. Uh, but I don't think that's what they got him on. No, he got away from those charges in 1931. They ended up getting him on tax evasion. That's how they got him. Yeah, he got away from that one, but they got him on tax evasion. And then they got him killed by sending a prostitute in the cell there with him with some major STDs. Happy birthday. And then Boris Yeltsin, he wins Russia's first presidential election with 50% of the vote. Oof. That was a tough election. I remember that everyone was kind of like on their seats waiting for that election. You have to realize that this is the transition from the Soviet Union into Russia, right? This is like their first president, first presidential election. Like this is crazy, and he only won by 57%. That's pretty crazy. And then today in 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark premieres, the famous Indiana Jones movie. Mariah Carey's self-entitled album is released in 1990. 2012, the World Health Organization uh, uh, comes out saying that diesel exhaust causes cancer. Really? Really, I never would have guessed all that black stuff that comes out of there would have caused cancer. I never would have guessed. Like, cigarettes cause cancer. I don't blow that much smoke out. Uh, and then today in 2018, during President Donald Trump's first presidency, he sat down with Kim Jong Un in North Korea, the first of its kind with a with a president sitting down with the North Korean leader, first of its kind. Yeah, and yet they still bomb USA, bomb USA. We're gonna nuke the United States. We're gonna nuke the United States. And then meanwhile we go after Iran. Like anyone? Like that's a Bueller one right there. Hey Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. Here, yeah, North Korea is the one always saying that they're gonna bomb the US and nuke them. And they actually have nuclear weapons. But then they went after Iran. Why did they go after Iran? Couldn't have been because of the nuclear program, right? Yeah, because yeah, North Korea has a nuclear program and nuclear weapons. So what does North Korea not have? Hmm. Oh, I know. Oil. And also today in 2010, Toy Story 3 premieres. So yeah, that's it for the news today, you guys. Yeah, today is Friday. You guys, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I got scattered showers throughout here today. Like I said, it's like 59 degrees. It's like 15 degrees Celsius. It's yeah, a little chilly out there. I was gonna go for a hike, but it is really windy, and I don't want to be deaf when I come back. Yeah, that wind really kills me when I go out hiking. I should be wearing earplugs or something. Just that wind across the ears. I think that's probably the most thing that's affecting me right now. But yeah, you guys have a great weekend. I'm here Monday to Friday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Central Time for news stripped down, 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer than that's just BS anyways. But I think I might have to start changing that because I've been going over my 30 minutes or less. But I still want to leave the birthdays at the beginning because it gives people time to come in, you know. And that's pretty much a whole page of writing right there on a good day. Was it was it Monday? I think I only had like 4 or 5 names on there. Yeah, and then Toga. Oh, Toga, Burgling Gnomes is out now. It's out, but they got rid of the demo, so I don't think we can play the demo anymore. And me and B tried it out. I think B's gonna post that video of us playing Burgling Gnomes. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. And if you notice when we're gaming and stuff, I am talking like really, really quiet, is because the wife is sleeping. That's why I do that. But I'm gonna put up links to me and my buddy gaming. We try and keep them either half an hour or just under an hour, so like 43 minutes. Normally, that's mostly all I can handle. Sometimes when I'm gaming is an hour, but also depends on the games we're playing. But I'll start putting links up there. You go, guys, go check out B. And yeah, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday. And if not, I might do something this weekend. We'll see what happens if I get bored or something crazy comes up in the news, or if something intrigues me enough to talk about. But I do want to talk about that turkey thing there. Oh yeah, there you go, DJ. Yeah, get your name out there. Da, da. Yeah, I want to screenshot that. No, because you just reminded me of that. But Deadly, I'm out of here. You guys have a great weekend, and I don't know, be nice and kind to people. You see somebody like needs help, like help them. See somebody with a flat tire, do what you can. Or if some person needs help carrying their groceries, or even if the stupid neighbor is unloading like big heavy cinder bricks out of a truck, go help them before they have a heart attack. You know, mm, unless you're down for that. I tell you the truth, I'd still help him anyways, whether I like him or not. I tell you the truth, I wish he would just drop dead. But I'm the type of person, whether I like them or not, I'd still stop and help them. and then you hear about it later. But anyways, everyone be good. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.